Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a dice. So what you can do is, after pulling up Onshape, you can go to Create, Document, and you can just label it Dice. I'm just going to be using this document over here. So this is the end result of the dice that we're going to be making. And I'm going to be showing you how to do this in this video. So the first thing that you want to do is, once you're in a part studio, so after you create a document, it should look like this. Except you'd only have one part studio over here instead of two like I do. Anyway, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to your top plane, and you see these three bars over here. You want to change that, you want to change the workspace units. Okay, so this one's already changed because I changed it earlier, but some of you might have it in inch. So what you're going to do is you're going to click this, the down arrow over here and change that to millimeter. This is because most dice, one of their standard sizes is 16 millimeters, so we're just going to follow that. So we're going to click sketch, and we're going to make a sketch on this top plane right over here. Then we're going to create a rectangle. So you can either use the rectangles provided over here, or you can use the keyboard shortcuts for them. So I'm just going to create a center point rectangle, and I'm going to start from the origin. You see there's these numbers over here at the bottom of each line. They're basically telling you what the length is. So right now, this rectangle is about 67 millimeters by 59 millimeters. But remember, we want to make them 16 millimeters each. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to use the dimensioning tool. So whenever you hover above any of these tools, it's going to tell you what it is. It's going to tell you what the keyboard shortcut is in parentheses. So the keyboard shortcut for dimensioning is D. And it'll give you a brief overview of what the tool does. So over here, it's telling you that the dimension tool adds dimensions to and between sketch entities. So we're just going to click this button over here, and we're going to label it so that's 16 millimeters by 16 millimeters. And you see how each of the lines are black now? That means that I can't move them anymore because it's perfectly constrained. So it's basically fixed in place. When the line was blue earlier, so as you can see like right now, I could basically extend it since it wasn't fixed into place. So I'm going to add the dimension again. So that's 16 by 16 millimeters. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it. Extruding something is basically when you change something from being 2D into 3D. So the button for it is right over here. And as you can see, the keyboard shortcut is Shift plus E. So you can click this button. And look, there's this arrow over here. So now it has depth. So when you change it, or when you move the arrow, it basically changes the height. So this is one way to do it. The other way to do it is by going over here and just manually inputting what you want it to be. So now I have a 16 by 16 by 16 millimeter cube. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the navigation cube and click top. We're going to be creating a sketch, but instead of creating a sketch on the top plane as we did earlier, or any of the other planes even, we're going to click the surface of the cube that we've made. See, now our sketch is going to be on top of this cube instead of all the way down here. So now we're going to be creating a circle. So the tool for creating a circle is right over here. So this is one of the circles you can make. There's other types of circles that you can make, like a 3-point circle, which is basically when you add points, or 3 points, hence its name. For now, we're just going to be creating the center point circle, keyboard shortcut C, and we're going to be making it 3 millimeters. So you can give something a size immediately instead of just using the dimension tool by clicking once you've by just clicking it, and then this number will pop up and this white, and gray rectangle, and then you can just type in a number, and it makes, in this case, the diameter of this circle be 8 inches. Anyway, so make sure that when you're creating the circle, you're having the center be the origin. So essentially the very center of the circle. Now once you've done that, you're going to click Shift E, or in other words, extrude, and you're going to change it so that instead of it adding to it like it is right now, you're going to be removing it. So now the arrow is going the other way because it's cutting through the object. We're going to change the depth to be 0.25 millimeters. And you can click enter. And so now we have our first hole. So now that this top side is the one-sided side of the dice, or the one-hole side, whatever you want to call it, we're going to make the bottom be the one with 6 holes. So we're going to create a sketch on this bottom plane right here, and we're going to create 6 circles, each of them being 3 millimeters. Cool, and once you've made the 6 circles, you can click escape so that the tool is not selected anymore. So right now, since I'm still selecting the tool, as you can see I'm making it, the tool is gray, but when I click escape, it becomes white. So now my cursor is back to normal instead of that plus sign. Anyway, let's use the dimension tool so that we can place the circle to be exactly where we want it to be. So the tool, remember, is dimension. Keyboard shortcut is D. So click the center of the circle, so this point over here, and then click the line, the corner edge of the rectangle, and then change that to be 4 millimeters, and change this one to be 4 millimeters. So now basically what we just did is that we made the center of the circle be 4 millimeters away from this line over here and 4 millimeters away from this line over here. Let's do the same thing with this other circle. So, oops, wrong tool. So this one's going to be 4 millimeters away from the top and 4 millimeters away from the side. Going to do the same thing with this one. Now let's do the middle circles. So instead of them being 4 by 4 away from the edges, it's going to be 8 millimeters from the top, right? Because this is the halfway point. And then once again, it'll be 4 millimeters away from the side. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Cool, so now it's perfectly in line. So now we're going to do the same thing with this circle over here. So 8 millimeters from the top. And 4 millimeters from the side. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude them. So again, it can be Shift E or you can use the extrude button. Change this to remove. Change the depth so that it's only 0.25 millimeters. So that's how much it's cutting over here, as you can see. So now we've got 1 hole and we have 6 holes. So let's now do 2 holes. So go to Sketch, click a plane, or click the surface, click the surface of the cube. It can be any one of the surfaces of the cube, it doesn't matter. And we're going to create 2 circles, each of them being 3 millimeters in diameter. So now let's dimension them. So let me just show you this. So the keyboard shortcut for line, so lines are just like basically drawing lines. So the keyboard shortcut for line is, as you can see, L. And so I'm just going to create a line that goes diagonally just to show you how this is going to look like. I'm just going to take out the dimension for this. By the time we dimension this, both of these circles should be on the line. The center of the circle should be on the line. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is dimension it. So it's 4 millimeters away. See, it's on the line. Let's make this one also on the line. Sweet. Okay, so now I'm just going to click that. Click Shift E to extrude it. This time I need to select both points since I had the line going through the middle, so now it's showing as 4. What you can do instead to change that is you can go back into a sketch by double clicking, and so now it's taking me back here. And then there's this thing called construction lines. Keyboard shortcut is Q. And when you select them, it basically, so I've selected Q. Now I'm going to create a line. And so it basically just helps you understand where things are going to be placed. Right now, it's red, and earlier it was also red because the length is already determined. So by giving it another length, it's essentially over constrained. But when we delete it, it's alright. Anyway, so let's extrude this. So now the circle is being, it's not in halves anymore. And I have to select each half. So now there's only 2 faces that I'm selecting. Let's change this to remove, change this to change this to 0.25. And so now we have 2 holes. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to have, if we have 2 on this side, that means that we must have 5 on the other side, because in a standard dice, opposite sides add up to 7. So we have 1 plus 6, which is 7, so this must be 2 plus 5 to get 7. So you're going to select the surface of the cube, and we're going to make 5 circles, each of them being 3 millimeters. Cool, so the first circle is going to be in the middle, and and the middle would be half of 16, because as you can see, if I click this line, it's going to say 16 millimeters at the bottom. So it's basically telling me what the length of the line is. So I'm going to change this so that it's, so that it's 16, so that's 8 millimeters away. Oops, I selected the wrong thing. So right now I selected the corner instead of the circle, instead of the center, which is why the edge of the circle is basically in the center. So let's change that. And I selected the wrong line this time. There we go. Okay, cool. So we've selected, so we've made the circle be in the center. I'm going to change this to be 4 and 4 away. Make the circle be 4 millimeters and 4 millimeters away. And same thing with these ones, these bottom 2 circles. Cool, so now we have these 5 circles. So I'm going to extrude them. change it to remove, change this as negative 0, or not negative, sorry, 0.25. Oh, I accidentally clicked escape before I was done. So I need to reselect these. Remove 0.25. There we go. Okay, cool. So now I have to do 3 holes on one side and 4 holes on the other. So here's the one with 2 holes. We're going to make a sketch on the one right next to it. So this time the circles are going to be going in the other diagonal way. So make 3 circles, each of them being 3 millimeters. And now we're going to dimension them. So again, one circle will be, or all of these circles will be on this line. This circle, since it's going to be in the middle, it's going to be 8 millimeters away from each of the edges. And then these two will be 4 millimeters away from each of the edges. Okay, now for the last circle. Sweet. So now we're going to extrude them again. Remember, you can use Shift D, or you can also just click this tool. Let's change this to remove and change this to 0.25. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. The last side remaining is 4. And 4 should be opposite of 3. So we're going to be doing this one a bit different. So you're going to select the plane. After that, we're just only going to create one circle. That's still going to be 3 millimeters. We're still going to dimension this one circle, so that's 4 millimeters away from each of the sides. Now here's where things are going to be different. So I'm going to click this button over here that says linear pattern. There's other tools over here as well if you check the drop down. But right now we're just going to be using linear pattern. I'm going to be selecting this hole. And now you can see these 2 arrows. So these 2 arrows are basically telling me that I can control how many holes are going to be there and the distance away. So I'm going to change the distance to be 8 millimeters away. So now you can see that each hole is 8 millimeters away. I can also change it to be something different. So if I look at the other arrow, see how it says 23.3. So I can make them whatever distance away from each other I want them to be. But we only need them to be 8 millimeters away, so that's what it's going to be. So let's change this other one. So that's also 8. Negative 8, because it's going down. And then you see how it says 3x over here? So it's basically saying that this circle will be replicated 3 times in total. So there will be 3 of these circles in this row. I'm going to change that so that it's only 2. Same thing on this side. Or this side already has it. This side is already 2. But I could also change it to something like 10. So you see, this can be really convenient in like multiple cases, especially for instances in which you need like a lot of the same thing in a specific arrangement. So this is where it's really helpful. Anyway, once you've done that, now we've got these 4 holes over here, and all of them, as you can see, are black, which means that they're all constrained, which means that I can't move them unless I change one of these. Okay, so now we're going to extrude them again. Change this to remove, and then change this to 0.25. So now we have all the holes. Let's give this cube a bit of color. Sorry. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to tap this with both fingers. It might be different for some of you because I'm not using mouse right now, I'm on trackpad. But for those of you on trackpad, you can just go to part 1 over here, and then you can click with both of your fingers at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to change this to white. So that's this. And I'm going to click this check mark over here. But I still need to make these holes black, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be selecting each of these holes. I'm selecting more than one hole at the same time by holding shift. So every time you do these holes, make sure you hold shift, otherwise it'll only allow you to do one. Now I'm gonna double tap again, and I'm gonna click add appearance to 7 faces, so the one at the very bottom, and I'm gonna change it to black. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same thing with this side. Oops. Double tap, add appearance to 14 faces, change it to black. There we go. And now let's just make this cube so it's not all sharp edges. So let's make it round. We're gonna do that by using this tool over here, fillet. The keyboard shortcut is Shift F. You can select all of these edges. You don't have to hold shift for this, by the way. So just select all of these lines. Oops, that was not what I meant to do. You can undo something by just re-clicking it. Cool, and it looks like these are all of the lines, or all of the edges. So you can change this to be whatever you want. So it could be like 1.25, it could be 9. Actually, it can't be 9 because there's not enough like room for it to be filleted that much. So you can make it 3. No, it looks like 3 doesn't work either. Sorry about that. Wow, those are a lot of coughs. Okay, I'm just gonna keep mine to be 1.5 because I like how that looks. And I'm gonna click the check mark, and there. So now we have our dice. You can hide the origin and the other planes so that you're just left with your cube or with your dice. Yeah, and here you have it. Anyway, thank you for following along. Bye bye.